The grand hall of the Galactic Hegemony fell silent as Commander Alara Voss strode forward, her weathered boots echoing across the polished obsidian floor. Representatives from 500 worlds watched from tiered seating that stretched toward a distant ceiling of shifting nebula projections. Earth stood accused of violating interstellar treaty J409, unauthorized military buildup in a protected sector. The penalty: complete planetary quarantine, or worse. Alara, a retired Special Forces operative sent as Earth's sole representative, seemed woefully outmatched against the hegemony's panel of 12 arbiters. Their towering forms, some silicon-based, others energy constructs contained in specialized suits, regarded her with dismissive stares. The human delegation consists of one individual? The lead arbiter, Magistrate Doravan, didn't attempt to hide his disdain. "I speak for Earth," Alara answered simply. Doravan's compound eyes narrowed. "Your species was granted provisional membership only 30 Earth years ago. Yet you've already violated 3 major treaties and now stand accused of weapons development in the Rigel sector." Alara remained perfectly still. The sleeve of her formal diplomatic jacket rode up slightly as she crossed her arms, revealing an intricate black tattoo circling her wrist. An amused murmur rippled through the gallery as Doravan pointed. "Is that primitive skin modification? How fitting for a species still playing with nuclear fission, while the rest of us harness quantum singularities." Several delegates laughed openly. Alara's face betrayed nothing. "The evidence against Earth is substantial," Doravan continued, activating a holographic display showing what appeared to be a massive installation hidden in an asteroid belt. "These structures match known human military designs. Explain." "Those aren't weapon platforms," Alara said quietly. "Our sensors indicate energy readings consistent with—" "Your sensors are correct," Alara interrupted, "but your interpretation is flawed. May I approach the evidence terminal?" Reluctantly, Doravan nodded. As Alara stepped forward, a Cygnan delegate hissed, "Look at her markings, barbaric!" With swift, practiced movements, Alara accessed the terminal. The hologram shifted, expanded, revealed details previously obscured. "What you're seeing is a gravitational dampening field," she explained. "Those structures form a containment grid." "Containment for what?" demanded Doravan. Alara's eyes locked with his. "Something ancient. Something that was sleeping in that sector long before any of our civilizations existed. Something we discovered 3 months ago when it began to wake. The chamber grew deathly quiet. We call it the Leviathan. And if we hadn't built that containment grid—" Alara tapped the terminal again, bringing up a simulation. It showed a massive energy form spreading, consuming star systems one by one. "Preposterous," Doravan sputtered. "Our scientists would have detected—" "Your scientists weren't looking," Alara said. "We were, because we found references to it in our ancient myths. Stories you all dismissed as primitive superstition." She rolled up her sleeve fully, revealing the tattoo in its entirety. An intricate pattern that exactly matched strange glyphs visible on the Leviathan's outer shell. "This isn't decoration. It's a warning passed down through generations." She looked around the chamber. "Earth didn't violate your treaty. We saved your worlds while you were busy mocking our primitive ways." The silence that followed was absolute. Doravan recovered first. "These claims will require verification." "Of course," Alara agreed. "Send your best scientist. But I suggest you hurry. The Leviathan is still trying to break free." As she turned to leave, Alara caught fragments of whispered conversations. Could it be true? The human female with the markings, yet like the old stories, they call her the Baba Yaga. Alara smiled faintly. They didn't yet understand what that name truly meant, or why the most ancient species in the galaxy still feared it. 3 days later, Alara sat in a sterile chamber aboard the Hegemony flagship Eternal Dominion. Across from her sat Inquisitor Zalorn, his translucent skin revealing shifting neural pathways as he studied her. Behind him, 2 other officials, Security Director Mavren and Science Minister Peltora, observed from the shadows. "The preliminary findings are concerning," Zalorn admitted reluctantly. "The energy signature within your containment grid matches no known phenomenon in our extensive databases." Alara nodded. "As I said. Yet we find it difficult to believe that humans, particularly given your species' limited technological development, could have detected and contained such an entity when our civilizations have existed for millennia longer. Director Mavrin stepped forward, his armored exoskeleton whirring softly. We've analyzed your tattoo. The pattern appears in fragments across 17 ancient cultures spanning the galaxy, always associated with calamity. How did Earth come to possess this knowledge? Ilara's gaze remained level. You're asking the wrong question. You should be asking why we were chosen to remember what the rest of you worked so hard to forget. Peltora, the science minister, approached the table. Her species communicated through bioluminescent patterns that flashed across her skin as she spoke. Our historians have found references to an entity that matches your Leviathan in ancient texts. These accounts speak of guardians who stood against it. They called these guardians Baba Yaga, Ilara finished. Yes, the name has followed us. Us? Zalorn seized on the word. There are more like you? There have always been guardians, Ilara said simply. Mavrin slammed a mechanical appendage onto the table. Enough evasion! Our deep scans show technology within that grid that exceeds even hegemony capabilities. Technology that by all rights humanity shouldn't possess for another 5 centuries at your current rate of development. Ilara leaned forward. What if I told you we didn't build it? What if I told you we simply remembered how to use what was left to us? The room temperature seemed to drop. Left to you by whom? Peltora asked, her skin flashing patterns of confusion and alarm. By those who fought the Leviathan the first time. By those who knew it would return. Ilara turned her wrist, revealing more of the tattoo. This isn't just a warning, it's a key. A blueprint. Zalorn's neural pathways pulsed rapidly. That's not possible. The legends speak of events over 50,000 years ago. 53,412 years to be exact. Ilara corrected him. Before your species had even achieved spaceflight. Before most of your worlds had written language. And you expect us to believe humans, who were still using stone tools then, were chosen as these guardians? Mavrin scoffed. Not chosen, Ilara said quietly. We were the only ones left. Ilara rolled up her sleeve further, revealing more of the intricate design. As the tattoo caught the light, portions of it seemed to shift and move as if alive. This isn't ink, she explained. It's a quantum-locked memory system. Every guardian carries a piece of the knowledge. Together we remember everything. Preposterous, Zalorn dismissed. Such technology, Ilara interrupted by placing her hand on the table's surface. The tattoo pulsed once, and suddenly the entire room's systems went dark. When emergency power activated seconds later, the table between them had transformed into a 3-dimensional star map, showing the Leviathan's containment grid, and dozens of similar structures scattered across the galaxy. There are more of these? Peltora gasped. Many more, Ilara confirmed. The Leviathan isn't a singular entity, it's a hive, and the one we've contained is just a scout. As the 3 officials stared in shock, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. What's happening? Mavrin demanded. A communications officer burst in. The containment grid, it's under attack. Something's trying to breach it from the outside. Ilara stood calmly. And now you understand why Earth needed those unauthorized defenses. The main force has arrived. The Hegemony War Council assembled in desperate haste. Representatives from the 12 most powerful species gathered around a massive tactical display, showing the Rigel sector, where Earth's containment grid now pulsed with warning signals. Grand Admiral Corval, the Hegemony's supreme military commander, addressed the assembly. The situation has escalated beyond our initial assessment. Multiple entities matching the energy signature of the contained Leviathan have appeared at the sector's edge. Holographic projections showed dark, twisted forms moving through space, their surfaces rippling with the same strange symbols found in Ilara's tattoo. Massive Hegemony battlecruisers looked like toys beside them. Ilara, now released from detention and granted emergency advisory status, stood silently until Corval turned to her. Commander Voss, your insight is required. The admission cost him visibly. Pride comes before annihilation, Ilara thought. The Leviathan Collective operates as a singular consciousness spread across multiple physical manifestations, she explained, approaching the display. What we've contained is equivalent to a finger or an eye, a sensory probe. Now that it's been isolated, the main body has come to investigate. Our fleet stands ready, Corval declared, his chitinous armor gleaming under the tactical lights. 20,000 vessels, the finest in the galaxy. Ilara shook her head. Conventional weapons are useless. Energy-based attacks will only feed them. Kinetic impacts will pass through their quasi-material state. Then what do you suggest? Asked Counselor Vex Mara, the hegemony's strategic director. Surrender? I suggest you let me contact my team, Alara replied evenly. Earth has been preparing for this moment for thousands of years. A ripple of disbelief passed through the assembly. Your primitive planet with its handful of crude interplanetary vessels has been preparing to fight an enemy we didn't even know existed? Vex Mara's tone dripped with skepticism. Alara fixed her with a steady gaze. Why do you think we've been so focused on our own solar system instead of expansion? Why have we seemingly lagged behind in certain technologies while making inexplicable leaps in others? Did none of you wonder why Earth developed quantum entanglement communications 2 centuries before your scientists predicted we would? The silence that followed was telling. We knew they were coming back, Alara continued. Every generation of Guardians has dedicated their lives to ensuring humanity would be ready. Admiral Korval studied her with newfound intensity. These Guardians, how many are there? Enough, Alara said simply. Then, seeing the need for more, she added, 144,000, each carrying a fragment of the knowledge, each prepared to stand when called. She stepped closer to the tactical display and waved her tattooed wrist over the control interface. The display transformed, showing Earth's solar system and revealing structures previously hidden from hegemony sensors. Massive installations within Mercury's orbit, embedded in Mars' moons, hidden in the rings of Saturn. By the first light, whispered Science Minister Peltora, who had joined the council. Those are defensive platforms, but the technology, it's unlike anything in our records. Not defensive, Alara corrected. Offensive. The last time the Leviathan came, the Guardians could only contain it. This time we intend to destroy it. How? Demanded Korval. If our weapons are useless. Your weapons are based on principles the Leviathan understands and can counter, Alara explained. Ours operate on different laws altogether. She gestured again, and the display showed a new image. Humans across Earth performing what appeared to be ritualistic movements. Their bodies marked with tattoos similar to Alara's. What is this? Vex Mara asked, bewildered. Activation protocol, Alara said. What you see as primitive markings are actually interfaces. Quantum linkages that connect each Guardian to the defense network and to each other. As if on cue, Ilara's tattoo began to glow with a soft blue light. Across her skin, the pattern shifted and realigned. The network is coming online, she stated. I need to return to Earth immediately. This is absurd, Counselor Vex Mara protested. We cannot entrust the safety of the galaxy to... She was interrupted as the tactical display suddenly flared red. 3 hegemony battle cruisers at the containment grid's perimeter had gone silent. The feed from their sensors showed briefly as the Leviathan entities engulfed them, dissolving metal and flesh alike. Korval stared at the display, then at Alara. His voice, when it came, had lost all its previous arrogance. How soon can you deploy your Guardians? Ilara's tattoo pulsed in sequence now, responding to signals only she could perceive. They're already deploying, she answered. But to complete the activation, I must be at the primary node on Earth. The Baba Yaga network requires its anchor. Baba Yaga, Peltora said slowly. In the oldest texts, that name isn't just a title for Guardians. It's something else, something our translators couldn't properly interpret. Ilara nodded. In the ancient tongue, it means, she who stands between worlds, the one who guards the threshold between existence and oblivion. As the council watched in stunned silence, Ilara's tattoo completed its transformation, now covering her entire arm in shifting luminous patterns. Through the tactical display, they could see similar lights appearing across Earth's surface, thousands of points forming constellations of power. Get me home, Ilara said simply, or there won't be a galaxy left to save. The hegemony's fastest vessel, the quantum courier Celestial Whisper, streaked through hyperspace with Ilara aboard. What should have been a 3-day journey had been compressed to 15 hours. The ship's engines pushed far beyond safety protocols. In the ship's observation deck, Ilara stood before a viewport, her tattoo now extending beyond her arm, intricate patterns spreading across her shoulder and neck with slow, deliberate purpose. Behind her, Admiral Korval and a small contingent of hegemony officials waited in uneasy silence. We've received reports from the containment grid, Corval finally said. The Leviathan entities have destroyed 14 more vessels and have begun probing the grid itself. Our scientists estimate breach within 10 hours. Ilara nodded without turning. They're being methodical. Testing defenses, analyzing responses. How did humanity become the Guardians? Asked Peltora, who had insisted on joining the mission. Of all species in the galaxy, yours is among the youngest. Ilara's reflection in the viewport showed a faint smile. Sometimes the youngest child sees what the adults have learned to ignore. She turned to face them. When the Leviathan first came, 50,000 years ago, the galaxy was ruled by civilizations your historians don't even know existed. They were ancient when your worlds were still cooling from formation. The predecessors, Peltora breathed. We found only fragments of their technology, hints of their existence. They fought the Leviathan with everything they had, Ilara continued. Weapons that could destroy stars, shields that could contain supernovae. But they were losing. In desperation, they searched for a species that might carry on the fight. And they chose humans? Primitive cave dwellers? Corval couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. They chose us precisely because of what you see as our limitations, Ilara explained. The Leviathan feeds on the quantifiable. Energy, matter, predictable patterns. Human consciousness with its intuitive leaps, its dreams. Its irrationality, these things are poison to it. The ship shuddered as it prepared to exit hyperspace. The predecessors altered us, Ilara continued. Not our bodies, but our minds. They created the guardian lineages, humans who could interface with their technology through thought alone. The tattoos are merely physical manifestations of that connection. The viewport filled with light as they emerged into normal space, Earth coming into view, beautiful and blue. But something was different. Visible even from orbit, patterns of light covered the planet's surface, concentrating around certain points. Similar lights dotted the solar system, emanating from the installations Ilara had revealed earlier. The network is nearly fully activated, she said, all Guardians converging. As the ship descended toward Earth, they passed massive orbital platforms previously hidden from hegemony sensors. Each thrummed with energy that defied conventional analysis. They landed at a facility built into the side of a mountain, a structure that seemed part temple, part military installation. Hundreds of humans with tattoos similar to Ilara's moved with purpose through its halls, many of them wearing uniforms from Earth's various nations. You've hidden all this from us, Corval realized. For decades. For millennia, Ilara corrected. While your civilizations rose and fell and rose again, we remembered. We prepared. At the heart of the facility lay an immense chamber carved from the living rock of the mountain. At its center stood a crystalline structure that pulsed with the same rhythms as Ilara's tattoo. The anchor, she explained. The focal point of the entire network. As Ilara approached it, the other guardians in the chamber formed a circle around her. Their tattoos glowed in harmony, patterns shifting in complex sequences. What happens now? Peltora asked, watching in fascination. Now we show you why the name Baba Yaga still echoes in your oldest nightmares, Ilara replied, stepping into the center of the circle. Now we wake the witch. She placed her tattooed hand on the crystal. Instantly, the patterns on her skin flowed into it, spreading throughout its structure. The other guardians raised their hands, their tattoos pulsing in unison. Emergency transmission from the Rigel sector, a communications officer called out. The containment grid is failing. The Leviathan entities have broken through and are moving toward populated systems. Ilara closed her eyes. All Guardians synchronize. Pattern Alpha 9 Epsilon. The tattoos across all present Guardians shifted to identical configurations. Through the facility's monitoring systems, the hegemony officials could see the same happening at sites around the world. Connection established, Ilara announced. Her voice now overlaid with harmonics that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Baba Yaga protocol, engaged. The crystal beneath her hand transformed, becoming a swirling vortex of energy and information. Through it, images appeared, the Leviathan entities now numbering in the hundreds swarming toward inhabited worlds. Target locked, Ilara's voice echoed. Deploying countermeasure. From Earth and its hidden installations, beams of impossible energy lanced outward, crossing vast distances instantaneously. Where they touched the Leviathan entities, reality itself seemed to fold, creating pockets of altered space-time. What are you doing to them? Corval asked, watching as the entities writhed in apparent agony. We're introducing chaos into their ordered consciousness, one of the other guardians explained. Human irrationality weaponized on a quantum scale. On the monitors, the Leviathan entities began to fragment, their unified patterns disrupting. But then, unexpectedly, they began to adapt, their surfaces shifting to new configurations. Ilara's expression tightened. They're evolving faster than projected. All Guardians increase chaos injection to maximum. The tattoos across all Guardians flared brightly, and the energy beams intensified. The Leviathan entities contorted further but continued their advance. It's not enough, Ilara realized. They've learned from last time. She turned to the circle of Guardians. We need to implement Omega Protocol. Gasps and concerned murmurs spread among the Guardians. Commander, the risk, one began, is necessary. Ilara cut him off. Begin the sequence. She returned her attention to the crystal, which now pulsed with a deep crimson light. Her tattoo spread further, covering her face with intricate, shifting patterns. What is Omega Protocol? Peltora asked urgently. The final option, answered a Guardian nearby. Total consciousness transfer. The complete merging of the Guardian network into a single entity. You mean, Corval began. Yes, the Guardian confirmed. Every marked human on Earth is about to become one mind, one will, one weapon. As the protocol initiated, Ilara's physical form began to blur at the edges, as if she was becoming something both more and less than human. We are Baba Yaga, she said. But it was no longer just her voice, it was thousands speaking in perfect unison. We stand between worlds. The energy emanating from Earth intensified 100-fold, and the battle against the Leviathan entered its final phase. The boundary between individual and collective consciousness dissolved as Ilara surrendered herself to the Omega Protocol. Her mind expanded, merging with thousands of other Guardians across the planet, across the solar system. They became a singular entity, vast beyond comprehension yet precisely focused. In the mountain facility, her physical form remained at the center of the Guardian circle, but it now pulsed with energy that defied classification. The tattoo had consumed her entirely, turning her skin into a living canvas of shifting symbols and equations. Through the facility's monitors, the hegemony officials watched in awe and terror as the networked consciousness of humanity reached across space, engaging the Leviathan directly. This is beyond anything we imagined possible, Peltora whispered, her bioluminescent patterns flashing with complex emotions. They've transcended physical limitation. Admiral Corval remained silent, his tactical mind struggling to process what he was witnessing, a form of warfare that operated on principles his civilization hadn't even theorized. On the monitors, the unified Baba Yaga consciousness manifested in visual form, a vast, ghostly figure that dwarfed even the largest Leviathan entities. It took the shape of a woman, ancient and terrible in her power, her form constructed from the combined thoughts and memories of all Guardians. We see you, the Baba Yaga entity spoke, its voice reaching across vacuum, transmitted not through conventional means but through reality itself. We remember you. We end you. The spectral hands reached out, grasping the Leviathan entities. Where they touched, the invaders' quasi-material forms began to unravel, their ordered patterns dissolving into chaos. But the Leviathan fought back. The entities combined, forming a singular mass that pulsed with malevolent purpose. It sent tendrils of dark energy toward Earth, targeting the Guardian Network's nodes. In the mountain facility, several Guardians collapsed as their connections were severed. The circle wavered. The network is destabilizing, reported a technician. We're losing coherence. The Baba Yaga manifestation flickered, its form becoming less defined as the Leviathan's counterattack intensified. Inside the merged consciousness, Ilara's individual awareness persisted, a focal point within the vast collective. She felt the pain of every severed connection, every Guardian lost. We need something more, she thought within the collective. The predecessors must have left us something for this moment. The collective consciousness searched its combined knowledge, delving into the deepest memories carried in the Guardian lineages. And there, buried beneath layers of protection, they found it, the final gift of the predecessors. Not a weapon, but a key. In the physical world, Ilara's body straightened, her eyes opening to reveal only light. Initiate Genesis Protocol. The collective spoke through her. Access the quantum substrate. The remaining guardians shifted their positions, forming a new pattern around Alara. Their tattoos aligned into a unified design that hadn't been seen in 50,000 years. What are they doing? Corval demanded. A guardian still conscious enough to communicate with the outsiders answered, "We're about to show the Leviathan what the predecessors truly created us for." Through the collective consciousness, Alara directed the newfound knowledge. The Genesis Protocol didn't target the Leviathan directly. Instead, it reached beneath reality itself, into the quantum foundations that support existence. The Baba Yaga manifestation plunged spectral hands into the very fabric of space-time, grasping threads of probability and potential. "You exist because reality permits it," the collective declared to the Leviathan. "We are reality's immune system." With a gesture that rippled across dimensions, the Baba Yaga entity began rewriting the fundamental laws that allowed the Leviathan to exist. Not destroying it through force, but simply editing it out of possibility. The Leviathan shrieked across all frequencies, a sound of cosmic horror as it felt itself being unmade. It thrashed, sending desperate attacks toward Earth in its final moments. One such attack breached the mountain facility's defenses, energy tearing through the chamber. Several guardians fell, their connections to the collective severed permanently. But the Genesis Protocol continued, unstoppable now that it had begun. The Baba Yaga manifestation completed its work, and the Leviathan, the threat that had haunted the galaxy for eons, simply ceased to be, not destroyed, but rendered impossible by the new parameters of reality. In the aftermath, the collective consciousness began to separate, individual guardians reclaiming their minds. The tattoos faded to their normal state, though permanently changed by what they'd experienced. Alara collapsed as her consciousness returned fully to her body. Medical teams rushed forward, but she waved them away, struggling to her feet. Admiral Corval approached slowly, his earlier arrogance entirely gone. "Commander Voss, what did you do?" Alara met his gaze, her eyes now normal but holding the echo of something vast. "We rewrote the universe's source code. The Leviathan cannot exist in this reality anymore. The cost," Peltora gestured to the fallen guardians, "was necessary," Alara completed softly, "and willingly paid. They knew the risk when they took the mark." In the days that followed, the Galactic Hegemony convened an emergency session. Earth status was the sole item on the agenda. In the grand hall where it all began, Alara once again stood before the assembled representatives of 500 worlds. But this time there was no mockery, no dismissal of the primitive human. Magistrate Dorovan addressed the assembly. "In light of recent events, the status of Earth within the hegemony must be reconsidered. Commander Voss, as Earth's representative, what does your world ask of us?" Alara, her tattoo now visible for all to see, spoke clearly. "Earth asks nothing. But the Guardians would remind the hegemony that there are forces in this universe beyond your comprehension, forces that will return in new forms with new threats." She looked around the chamber, meeting the gazes of species that once dismissed humanity. "The Baba Yaga stands between worlds. We always have. We always will. Whether you mock us or revere us changes nothing." Dorovan nodded slowly. "The hegemony formally recognizes Earth as a protector world, with all rights and privileges thereof." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Earth, once considered a backwater planet of little consequence, now stood revealed as perhaps the most important world in the galaxy. As Alara turned to leave, a young diplomat from a distant world stopped her. "The markings on your skin?" he asked hesitantly. "What do they truly mean?" Alara studied him for a moment, then smiled. "They mean that some things are worth remembering, even when the rest of the universe chooses to forget." She rolled her sleeve down, covering the tattoo that had once been an object of mockery and was now a symbol of salvation. "And they mean that appearances can be deceiving. Remember that the next time you encounter something you don't understand." With that, she walked from the chamber, leaving the assembled representatives of the galaxy to contemplate a universe suddenly much larger and stranger than they had ever imagined, and humanity's unexpected place at its center. 6 months later, Alara stood on a balcony overlooking the newly constructed Earth Embassy in the heart of the hegemony capital world. The structure was unlike anything else in the gleaming metropolis, built of stone and wood alongside advanced materials, a deliberate reminder of humanity's dual nature, ancient wisdom housed in seemingly primitive packaging. Behind her, the doors slid open and Admiral Corval stepped out, his ceremonial armor polished to a high sheen for the day's ceremonies. "The Protector World induction will begin shortly," he said, his tone respectful where once it had been dismissive. "The entire Hegemony Council awaits your address." Alara nodded but didn't turn from the view. Below, representatives from 1,000 worlds moved through the plaza, many stealing glances up at the balcony where she stood. "They're still afraid of us," she observed. "With good reason," Corval replied. "You rewrote reality itself. There are those who wonder what else humanity might be capable of." Alara finally turned to face him. "And you? What do you wonder, Admiral?" Corval's compound eyes studied her for a long moment. "I wonder why the predecessors chose humans. Not just for your unpredictable minds, as you claimed. There must have been more." A small smile played at Alara's lips. Perhaps they saw something in us that reminded them of themselves when they were young. Before they became so advanced, they forgot how to dream. She extended her arm, the tattoo now dormant but still vibrant against her skin. "Do you know what the oldest stories say about Baba Yaga? Not the sanitized versions in your historical databases, but the true myths." Corval shook his head. "They say she was neither good nor evil, but something else entirely. A force of nature unpredictable, bound by rules only she understood." Alara traced a pattern on her tattoo, and for just a moment it glimmered with inner light. The predecessors didn't just choose humans to be guardians. They chose us to be their successors. Corval's posture stiffened. "What are you saying?" "The Leviathan was only the first test," Alara said quietly. "There will be others. The universe has many immune responses to dangerous infections. The predecessors knew this. That's why they passed their knowledge to us, not as a complete package but as seeds designed to grow in ways even they couldn't predict." She gestured to the bustling plaza below. "Your civilizations have advanced in linear paths, building on what came before. Humanity has always moved in spirals and leaps, combining intuition with reason in ways that seem chaotic but create unexpected strength." "And now?" Corval asked. "With Earth recognized as a protector world, what comes next?" Alara's expression grew distant. "Integration. Earth will join the hegemony fully, share what knowledge we can, but the Guardians will continue our work. The tattoos are spreading to new bearers even now, chosen ones who can carry fragments of the whole." She looked up at the alien sky, where unfamiliar constellations were just becoming visible in the fading light. "The Leviathan was only one threat. There are others sleeping in the spaces between stars, in the folds of dimensions you haven't discovered yet. The predecessors knew this. That's why they didn't simply give us weapons, they gave us understanding." Corval was silent for a long moment, processing her words. "The Hegemony Council should be informed if there are other threats." "They will be," Alara assured him, "when the time is right. But some knowledge must be earned, Admiral, just as humanity earned ours through millennia of remembering what others chose to forget." She pushed away from the balcony railing. "For now, let us focus on today's ceremony. Earth takes its place among the stars not as a conquered world or even as a partner, but as something you've never had before, a guardian of existence itself." As they walked toward the great hall where the ceremony would take place, Alara was aware of the stares that followed her. Some awed, some fearful, some calculating. The mockery was gone, replaced by something perhaps more dangerous. Reverence. The Guardian Council, the new governing body for Earth's protectors, had warned her about this. Reverence could be as blinding as contempt. Both prevented true understanding. Inside the hall, thousands of dignitaries fell silent as she entered. The tattoo on her arm tingled, responding to the subtle energy patterns of so many different species gathered in one place. She took her position at the center of the chamber, surrounded by representatives of civilizations that had reached the stars when humans were still mastering fire. Yet now they looked to her, to Earth, with new eyes. "People of the hegemony," she began, her voice carrying easily to every corner of the vast space. "Today marks not an ending but a beginning. Earth accepts the mantle of Protector World not as an honor, but as a responsibility we have always carried." She let her gaze move across the assembly, The markings you once mocked as primitive are in fact the oldest writing in the galaxy, the language of those who came before all of us. They tell a story of cycles, of threats that sleep and wake, of guardians who watch and remember. Ilara raised her tattooed arm. We are the Baba Yaga. We stand between worlds, and we invite you to stand with us, not behind us or before us, but beside us as we face whatever comes from the darkness between stars. A murmur ran through the crowd, and Ilara saw understanding dawning in many eyes. Not the full truth, they weren't ready for that, but enough to begin the journey. As the formal words of the ceremony were spoken, binding Earth to the hegemony as a protector world, Ilara felt the tattoo warm against her skin. Across Earth, thousands of other guardians felt the same sensation, acknowledgement from the fragments of predecessor consciousness embedded in the quantum memory. The first test had been passed. Humanity had proven worthy of the trust placed in them 50,000 years ago. The guardian lineages would continue, the knowledge would spread, and when the next threat emerged from the darkness, the Baba Yaga would be waiting. The galaxy had mocked what it didn't understand. Now it began to learn what the oldest species had known all along, that in humanity's seeming primitiveness lay a power beyond comprehension, not despite their contradictions and chaos, but because of them. As the ceremony concluded, Ilara caught the eye of a young guardian in the Earth delegation, her newly applied tattoo still fresh on her skin. The girl nodded slightly, a silent acknowledgement of the burden they shared. The legacy would continue. The Baba Yaga would stand watch, and the universe would never again mistake humanity's marks for mere decoration.